Croeso, hello, thank you for joining us on RobRyanRed, the Wrexham podcast brought to you in association with Red 10 People Development. Well, when the lineup dropped, we feared the worst. Then Wrexham reminded us all why we finished first. Every tackle, every challenge, every pass. Another Phil Parkinson masterclass. Nath, where do we start? What a week, what an away day. What a time to be a Wrexham fan.
As you finished your little opening soliloquy, no joke, a firework went off just as you ended it. So there's some kind of coordination here. I don't know. No word of a lie. A big firework went off outside my bedroom. But yeah, no. I've still got in my head ringing through my ears, "Notts are falling apart again." As people are heading for the exits. No, you know what? It was just classic Wrexham away day in the sense that very reminiscent of Coventry. We're going in, moping, writing our obituaries already.
Yeah,
Oh
we
no.
were in the pub together pre-match, and I was saying, I'm going home. I was saying,
Yeah.
why is he starting these guys? It was very, like you said, it was very Coventry where Dolby started. We had McFadzean and Reece Hall Johnson that day. And on Saturday, for me, it was Cannon. I was like, okay. Mendy at right wing back. I was like, oh, that could go either way. And then the question was Fletcher or Palmer, and the answer was Sam Dolby. And my words, Phil Parkinson, he caught us all off guard. He caught Notts County off guard. And right from the moment we got in there, Nathan, the fans started singing Super Ben Foster in goal again. And we started to believe. And we said on last week's podcast, it wasn't about going to Meadow Lane, sitting back, absorbing pressure, and just trying to hurt them on the counter attack. It's about going there and play our own game. And that's what we did. And, you can look back, and I know there weren't too many chances for either side clear cut in the game, but I never for once really feared that they were going to score a goal on Saturday. And maybe that's me being cocky in hindsight. But you know what? I think we absolutely did a job on them, and we did it our way, playing our style of football.
So I said on last week's podcast, didn't I, that I would have played uh, Evans and O'Connor together as a defensive midfield pair. In the end, it was that partnership, but as left and right centre backs that worked. And I almost thought because Notts County didn't really want to bombard the box, they didn't really want to whip it in high. McGoldrick was dropping so deep. That was one of the things I witnessed was, hang on, David McGoldrick's playing centre mid here. Or he's nearly alongside Jim O'Brien and Matty Palmer, which meant you left Langstaff up top, who's got many strengths and probably should have scored with his header. That was probably the best
Mm-hmm.
chance when it was 0-0 for them. And I just thought they gave us so much control, O'Connor and Evans, and also credit not just Parkinson but Ben Tozer. He's
Yeah.
taking a lot of flack. Jordan Tunnock going down in the warm up, that only added to the misery, writing an extra line into the Wrexham away obituary. This is going to be a disaster. Let's just get a 0-0.
And the
And
awareness for Tozer to lie on the floor like he did for that first goal, I mean, you can't teach that, can you?
You cannot teach that. No, I don't know if he's claiming that. Elliot Lee is at 10, and everyone else is giving it to Elliot Lee, but it definitely came off somebody. And I don't know the rule.
Yeah.
Surely, if it touches a Wrexham player,
Well,
that's
it's
it. It's their
dubious goals
goal.
panel, isn't it? It's one of those things where if the initial shot is typically on target, then they'll say it was down to the striker who initiated the actual sort of move and the effort on goal. But it's not going in if it doesn't hit Ben Tozer. So for me, give it to Tozer. I know that Elliot Lee will be gutted when he misses out on the golden boot by one goal because of that. But like you said, that is another characteristic of this Wrexham side that we write them off. And although we always go on every week about the squad depth, and again, I think the weekend showed that we are a class apart for squad depth. I really, really do. There's always got to be some players who aren't as obviously not first choice. You look at someone like Cannon, who I've been a huge doubter of. Sam Dolby, who after the first few games of the season, I was team Bickerstaff, but the last few games and in the comeback wins particularly, Sam Dolby has made a difference every single time he's come off the bench. I was surprised to see him start, but fair play. Parky sees these players every single day of the week, and he got it absolutely spot on. It was incredible.
For me, I'm going to pick out certain players, and maybe that's the way we go about it, Rich, because there were so many good performances. But you have to say, for me, my man of the match was by some distance, I would say, and that's saying something. I thought Jacob Mendy was absolutely superb, and the fact that Jody Jones got their man of the match, and yet he did next to nothing. Had his little thing with Mullen, or maybe we'll get onto that. But
Oh yeah, let's get on
um,
top now. What do you make of it? Because
that was
when I was in the stand, I was thinking I would not be surprised if Pullman gets sent off here.
I'd want that as a red if it was against me. If that had been the other way around, I think it's a red. But you also ride your luck in big games, Rich, and we've had decisions go against us, not to have had someone go against them. I thought the early booking for James Jones was harsh. I think Parky said the referee wasn't using common sense, and both him and Luke Williams went to see the referee at halftime and said, "Come on, engage brain here. This is a big
Yeah,
game. There's a lot of emotion on the line." James Jones, and look, we've got Mullin and James McLean
yeah,
suspended
I
now, but the
yeah,
incident
I
with
get what you mean
Mullin,
on the.
I think was a red.
Yeah.
I
Oh
think
yeah, okay,
personally.
yeah. I think it's one of those orange cards where, like you said, if it happens the other way around, I'd want, like, if Langstaff did that to one of our fullbacks, or whatever, I'd be like, get him sent off right now. He should never play the game again. Mullen knows what he's doing. He knows that in games like that, emotion is such a key component. He knows that riling them up, getting under their skin, that is what Paul Mullen does best. And he needs to be playing in those margins himself to be at his best. He relishes it. He loves that bit of tenacity. He loves being booed by the home fans. He loves just feeding off that, really. So, I'm not going to say Mullen change, because although it's annoying to watch, and yeah, there might be a red card every season or so when that happens, it is that makes him. It's almost like I said before, it's like that Suarez, that Wayne Rooney. It's playing in those fine margins. That is what makes him so good. And yeah, there's an element of risk there because he's so pumped up and he takes those risks. And if he's playing against you, you hate him. If Paul Mullen played against Wrexham, I would hate him because he's so good and he's such a good sort of wind-up merchant as well. But he's a bloody good footballer. James Jones one. We know the rules by now, don't we? Like, it is a yellow card to the book, and fair play to Cal Cameron. He took advantage of it. He's one of those players who is a wind-up merchant who I absolutely hate. He's fist bumping the away end when he won that yellow card. Yeah, he wasn't fist bumping at full time, was he? I mean, it was the fact that we did it, Nath. We went to Meadow Lane. We not only won, we kept a clean sheet. And yeah, it wasn't as if it was a snatch and grab. I mean, you look at that Chesterfield away 2 years ago where we won 2-0 in the second half. First half, they were all over us. But this was as complete a performance away from home as I remember from a Wrexham side.
Yeah, it's up there, and I think the atmosphere is up there. I still think it's a notch below Coventry. It was. I mean, credit to Manny, the drummer, was right behind me in kind of the block I was in. In the atmosphere, I thought was absolutely amazing from start to finish. All the chants, and I think felt like we really grew into the game. It was kind of. It was a better start than it was against Bradford, I felt like, but I also think it was controlled with purpose. I did think there was a purpose to what we were doing. And I think Dolby really led the line well. I thought he gave them plenty to think about with the frame. And I've always been big on that. I think Palmer is the better starter, and there are other players that are better finishers to games. And then you reverse it in fair play. I thought it was credit to everyone. I just wanted to go back to Mendy though, Rich. I mean, RobRyanRed sponsored Jacob Mendy. I honestly thought out of position. He got injured in the early moments. I thought that's it. We saw Ford warming up down the touchline. I thought, well, here we go. This is another defensive injury. We've lost Tunnicliffe in the warm up. Toes is in and out. O'Connell's out for 8 weeks. Barnett's out for 8 weeks. They're piling up. Aaron Hayden out injured. Ford has been out, on the bench now. Max wasn't involved. McFadden's obviously not registered. Bryce isn't registered. So, defensively, there is plenty to scratch your head at when you've got two of your defensive midfielders at left and right centre back. And yet he did a brilliant job. He did well there against Mansfield. He was even better here because I felt like he offered stuff going forward and back and really nullified Jody Jones, supposedly this best player in that Notts County team, who I thought was made to look pretty ordinary when all was said and done.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, particularly on the day. But I mean, Jacob Mendy was the scapegoat of Bradford because he was thrown under the bus, came on undercooked, makes an error, brilliant finish. Jacob Mendy. I mean, you go on Wrexham fans chat, and I know that could be a cesspit at times, but you can go on that after a game, and particularly after Bradford, people calling out Mendy, forgetting how integral he was, to our promotion campaign, and how much he's still learning anyway, and being played out of position, might I add. Like, come on, give this guy a break. He was great in midweek. He responded well and against Sutton, but the caveat was it was Sutton. It was a game that suited him as a fullback off the bench because he could just attack, he could just sort of play and go forward, and there was not too much defensive work to do. Notts County away, I mean, that looked like the key battle, didn't it? Like, if Notts are going to have any joy, they just got to target Mendy and McLean. Both of them held their own, but Mendy in particular was flawless, really, and fantastic to watch. And yeah, I was just like I said, you could pick out every single player. If I'm going to have my choice, They say never fall in love with a lone player. It's too late. He is my Valentine. I am in love with him. Arthur Okonkwo, he just makes everything look so calm and composed. The McGoldrick shot he saves at 1-0 is
Top
the
class.
moment for me that makes us go on and win that game. But there's also that shot. Was it a Kyle Cameron shot a bit earlier where he absolutely drills it? Okonkwo just dives to his side and holds onto it. I don't want to be like disparaging here, but that is what our other goalkeepers just simply wouldn't do. They just would not hold on to that ball, and it was like he had sort of glue on his gloves. He was just so chilled, so composed for the whole game. And then in the key moments, he made the difference. And I know there's a lot of football left to be played, but I think every Wrexham fan would be getting that question to Arsenal right now, saying, well, it's not even up to Arsenal, I suppose, if he's
Uh,
out of contract.
but
I
Rich,
mean, you'll be
Rich,
hoping they don't offer him one.
I would also say that, much like Mendy, I know that it's part of being a fan. Opinions change with the wind. No, they 1 minute you're great, and next minute you're terrible. You're always the hero or the villain, aka as you said with Mendy. And look, against Salford, people were pointing at Okonkwo's distribution and his decision making, and he was lax in possession. He's a young footballer who is getting better, and if he was more consistent, he wouldn't be with us now.
Mm.
That's just the fact of it. Wherever you want to dice it up, as great as it is to have him, he could be in the championship now at the age he is with his skill set. He's just not consistent enough. So the challenge for him is replicate that Notts County performance every single week. And we've seen so many good flashes. And dare I personally think that it just won't be in a price point to keep him. I'd love to be proven wrong on that. He's out of contract in the summer. Is it going to take a January bid of? I mean, what's it going to take? Is it going to take £1 million? Is it going to take 750,000? I mean, look, for him, he'll have ambitions of playing in the Championship, and especially if Wrexham don't go up. If Wrexham go up, you've obviously got a chance. He'll have been part of a promotion-winning team. Dare I say, for the first time in his career. I probably should have fact-checked that before I said that. But that's something special, and players want to look at Foster. Got sucked in by the promotion and wanted to stay, and then eventually decided that was a no-go. But yeah, I'm not sure. We're going to have to sign. I think we got an agreement, a loan to buy in January for Luke McNicholas. I think the way
Mm.
to skirt around FFP was to buy him in January. Rob Laneson and Mark Howard are, I believe, out of contract at the end of the season. Rob Laneson particularly, you would imagine, will go. And Mark Howard, look, for whatever you want to say, we got an email this week that said he deserves some praise for just being a team player, if nothing
Yeah.
else.
And
For
he was the first one over at full time to congratulate Okonkwo, and he was saying,
right.
man, you got us out of this one today. You had a huge role to play. And yeah, you're right. We did get an email this week that I was going to try find, which I can't quite find right now. But basically, they were saying that Mark Howard deserves so much credit for again for not kicking up a fuss. It was from Darren Wills, who said he loved the pod guys, and he just said, yeah, I truly think he deserves a little praise. He said he's very unselfishly seems to always put the team's needs above his own. A true team player. I think he needs some recognition. So yeah, I think we all echo that.
And Rich, it's basically in a similar way what Jake Hyde was saying about Liam McAlinden in a weird way.
Yeah.
You do need like glue guys like that in the dressing room. So Okonkwo is his own man and has his own skill set and his own drive. But at the end of the day, Howard has done a similar path. He came through Arsenal's academy, has had an established career in the Football League. There was Sheffield United, Bolton, Carlisle, other places. I'm sure Okonkwo is learning a lot from him, learning a lot from Leighton, just speaking to them. So let's not underestimate the power of the unit that's with Okonkwo
Yeah.
there and Aidan Davison. And Aidan Davison said in the documentary he likes experience. So this is something new for him, really. And who knows? I mean, if it's not podcasting for Mark Howard, maybe it's coaching longer term. You never know. He does seem to be that team player that likes coaching. But on Okonkwo, I'd love to be proven wrong. I find it hard to get the numbers to work for Wrexham in League Two right now for a player that I think will want to be in the Championship next season.
Yeah, like I said, it's going to be all hinge on whether we can get promoted, whether that ambition can match what he wants to do next in his career. But a massive shout out to him. I guess if I was going to be slightly pessimistic, Nath, my
There we
only
go.
my only downer, as me and some of the Manchester Reds were saying on the train back, it's not going to get better than this season, is it? There is not going to be an away day as good as Notts County away. We've already played Stockport. We know what happened there. We've had Mansfield away. There's no, we've had Bradford away. You look at like MK Dons would be a great event, but it's not. I can't see it right now being a game that's going to have any emotion close to the Notts County game
It,
on it. I
it,
mean, it just feels like we've had our great away day this season, and I know that there could be different circumstance.
what a glass half empty view for the season
I'm
in whatever
greedy. I'm a Wrexham
what
fan. I'm greedy.
what was it? It's just the start of November now when this is out.
Yeah, cash
That
out.
is that is a depressing viewpoint. No, there'll be some great away days because Wrexham sell out all these away days. That's what makes it great. Is that I've done plenty of Wrexham ways, as have you,
Yeah,
in yesteryear, where it's been crap. You've got you've got gaps between you. There's not many people there. It's been chucking down with rain. It's not been fun. And we lose, ebbs, fleets, and I always go back to that one, but
yeah.
it's etched on my brain like a dodgy tattoo. But
Yeah, and you make a good point there though, because
yeah,
for me, when you talk about how good Notts County was, in a way, if I'm trying to be truly hipster, and I know I don't believe this myself, part of me still wants to say Halifax away was my favourite away day under Parky, just because we were so bad and we properly stole that one off them. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
there's something to be said about an away day where you get away with robbery, basically. Whereas at Notts County we deserved to win, but at Halifax we did not deserve to win
I,
2 seasons ago, and we did.
up there for me. Wealdstone away. I always say it wrong, however I say it.
Yeah,
But the one where basically the barrier collapses. We score that illegal goal. Jordan Davis hits the bar, and then it comes back out to him and scores. And me and a couple of others got very very drunk in a nearby Thai restaurant, and I had no idea how we got home, but we did. And so that one's always good fun to look back on. As I said, Coventry was amazing. I'm trying to think of some other parky away days that we've had. Because like I said, I've never seen us win at Meadow Lane before the
no, I
weekend,
mean
and that one's
that
definitely up there.
Chesterfield away 2-0 was
I wasn't there for that one.
was amazing. Again, maybe not the actual
You
performance,
twisted
but
my arm to
the
go to Chesterfield, and so when I
Oldham.
did, you twisted my arm to go, and I did go. We lost, and it was like there was more
Yeah,
smoke bombs on the pitch than Wrexham shots
yeah,
on target. So,
yeah. But yeah, like I said,
um,
I think that Halifax and the Oldham away, those 2-1 wins were brilliant because we didn't maybe deserve to win on the day in
hmm,
both those games, and there's something to be said about that. I was going to move on the sort of conversation. I know we could literally say every player was amazing. They
yeah,
were.
we could.
But where does that rank for you then in terms of actual performance under Parky? Is that the best actual like performance? Because even Coventry, right at the end, I know they're a high caliber team, but we are holding on for dear life at the end of Coventry, aren't we? And they've got 10 men for a chunk of the second half at least. I know it's hard to compare cup and league sometimes, but where does that rank for you?
I, in terms of pride out of it's difficult, isn't it? Because there's many factors to how I'm judging the performance. The second leg against Sheffield United, I had so much pride. I know we lost that game, so you can't put it above, say, Notts County, but I had so much pride with how we played there against a team that were about to get into the Premier League, and we took them to the 92nd minute or whenever they got the go-ahead goal, and we missed a penalty. It's up there. I didn't think we played swashbuckling football, and I also don't think Notts County were horrendous. I think both things were maybe not quite true. I think we played well. I think they were okay, and have had better days. I don't think. No, I mean, the man had some joy against McLean in the first half. Langstaff probably should have scored the header. I think they'll still be up there. I'm not expecting Notts County to drastically fall away. I mean, people on the way out were saying that they think Notts County might finish mid-table, or I don't see that at all. I think
I
they'll be
still
still be
wouldn't be
back.
surprised if they finished above us, to be
Nah,
honest.
they'll still be bang up there. I definitely felt more confident in both of us saying we'll be top three come the end of the season based on that. But Mansfield are still really really good. Are they still unbeaten in all competitions? Probably. Um,
Until this Saturday.
until this Saturday. There you go. But they are still. I still think
Yeah,
they're the gold standard. I still think they've been the team of League Two. I know Stockport are ahead of them, but I still think Mansfield, just for the big game performances, have really laid
yeah.
it down. Stockport are brilliant, and but we're right up there. And so for me, probably a top five. I haven't got a list. Maybe let us know your list if you think it's the best Parky performance. Either at RobRyanRed on Twitter at RobRyanRed, or Instagram, obviously the same, or email robryanred@gmail.com. For me, I'm gonna safely say top five as a performance, and then I'll come back to you another week with my
Yeah,
exact list.
I think I'll have that cop out as well, and get back to you at a later date on that. And yeah, again, thank you very much for getting in touch on the emails. As always, do that on the socials as well. Just a caveat as well. Myself and Nath are recording this on the Monday night of the week. We've had some. I'm a very busy man. I'm in demand this week. I've
You
got.
are.
Yeah, we usually record on a Wednesday, and I'm at Old Trafford for United Newcastle, so we've had to bring it forward. So we might jump in at different parts of this podcast with other bits of news. Obviously, once we watch the doc as well, there should be a little segment on that. But obviously, we can't do that yet because we're recording on the Monday night. So yeah, in terms of the actual sort of occasion as well, Napier at the weekend. I
Well,
mean,
quickly, Rich. I just wanted to say this because this has been the big news piece outside of the game is Owen O'Connell and Ryan Barnett. They may as well stick up the Christmas stockings because they're not going to be playing until after Santa's coming down the chimney. Basically, they're not going to play again. It doesn't seem like. And I know what people have said. Parky is usually he's a bit more like you, Rich. He's more glass half empty, so he tends to give you the worst case scenario, and then when they come back in 6.5 or 7 weeks, it's like great, they've made a speedy recovery. So who knows? But as it stands, Owen O'Connell, who'd just been picking up form, I thought he was our best player at Bradford, been playing well. A different player to the one that scored the own goal against MK Dons on the opening day, if you can think all the way back to that. He's out for 8 weeks, and Barnett, we're already stretched at right wing back. As good as Mendy is, you don't really want him there long term, I wouldn't have thought, and he doesn't really want to be there long term. Ford is still trying to get his fitness up. I mean, they are really disappointing, aren't they? Massive injuries at this stage.
absolutely. I mean, like I said, O'Connell he had a poor start to the season. I know there's the element of the goalkeeper in that, but I thought I was scapegoating O'Connell probably after the first couple of games, and he came back and like I said, that Bradford game was heroic. He was brilliant there, and we were saying that no, if you're going to choose Wrexham's best back three, O'Connell would be there, and he'd probably be in that central role, which is a huge testament to how good he is. So it's really, really difficult, really a really crap one to take because he's been brilliant in the last few games. And of course, last time we played Notts, it was his fantastic sort of rugby move where he kicked it over the defence and chased onto it to get us back into the game. That's such a brilliant move from him in that one. And he's got a lot of traits that make him a good defender. He's not just a big bruiser. He's good with the ball. He loves his little clip passes that we've seen from Toes as well. I'd say in terms of O'Connell, while he is a huge miss, we are very blessed at centre half. So I don't think we're going to get too much sympathy because you still look at the calibre and the roster of centre backs we've got. We've got players who would get into any other team in this league. And we've also got players like Aaron Hayden who aren't even getting in the squad or on the bench who, for fitness issues, who would start for any other team. So I think the O'Connell one is really disappointing and annoying, but I don't actually think it'll affect us too much just because we've got so much depth there. The one that worries me is Barnett because we know how brilliant he is, how unpredictable he can be. I do think in general he struggled a little bit in League Two this season. His end product, hasn't always been there, but he still has that little spark that he can just make things happen out of nowhere. When he's on it, his crosses into the box are unstoppable, and he does what fans want you to want. He gets you off your seats. He takes a man on. He puts a cross in. He's got a unique skill set that no other player on the right hand side has. And the concern for Barnett, obviously, is we always saw him as the more attack minded option on the right. And it means you've either got Mendy, who isn't a right winger, or you've got Ford, who it hasn't been fit anyway, and it's a big ask for him to go straight back into the team. And particularly even when he is in the team, he doesn't quite offer the same going forward. I think he's a more rounded player than Barney, but that worries me a little bit on the right, just because, like I said, Mendy is a work in progress, playing out of position. He could be Bradford, he could be Notts County. You don't know what you're going to get from him. And Ford's injury concerns, I just wouldn't want him to be scapegoated or thrown in at the deep end if he's not ready yet. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
If he needs a few more weeks,
you said
give him
that to me, didn't
time.
you? You said that to me in the pub, didn't you? You said it before the team came out. You said actually I wouldn't want Ford in there really today. We hadn't seen the team, we had no intel, and you said I don't want him in there because he'll probably be undercooked. Against a Jody Jones who
Yeah.
is one of the fastest players in the league or something
Yeah,
statistically.
and when you've just made your return from injury, that can just kill your confidence. You've been working so hard, and your first game is you get ran ragged against one of the best in the league. I know it can go either way. Was when we played Notts last time? Had O'Connor just come back from injury or something? Was it his first game thrown back in the team? I seem to recall, or there was certainly, well, maybe, and I know Clareworth's done it a few times as well, where he's been thrown back in and produced a masterclass, but. Yeah, I just didn't want Ford to have to be thrown back in. I think because I really like him as a person as well. I mean, to bring the sort of welcome to Wrexham, his storyline is so moving and
Oh,
touching, and he just seems such a nice guy. I don't want him to be thrown into these situations where it can be exposed. And
He,
I just think that he needs time to get back to speed because when I also think on Anthony Ford, we forget how bloody good he is. Last
he's
season, he
such a
was
steady Eddie.
sensational.
He's such a steady. He's like the kind of archetypal 7 out of 10 at least every week. You know what I mean? Rarely does he fall below that level, and I do wonder if that all this talk of they want two defenders in January and a midfielder. I do wonder if one is a right wing back in the sense that I don't know. It might be a centre back. I don't know. I need to try and find out. But if it is a right wing back, I think well. It has been an area where they've chopped and changed. We saw Aaron James make his
Would you
full
not
Wrexham
just
debut.
say? Would you not
You
just say Bryce Zazano?
bring him back potentially. I mean, that would be a. I honestly think that'd be a hell of a story. I know people might just say, "Well, you're just bringing back a player um, that you already had that's been sat in the cold." But I do think that'd be a hell of a story. I would expect to see Bryce against Port Vale coming up again,
Mm.
and we'll see how he gets on there. I'd also expect McFadzean and Waters to play in that one, given those two missed the crew game, and it's sort of a dead rubber. I think if we win that group, I think you get seeded, or you get. We'll look into that when it
Yeah.
comes around, but um, it's yeah. I'd expect Bryce to. I don't know. I personally don't think there's a way back for Bryce, Billy,
No, neither do
and
I.
Callum. I don't think there is, and I think it's about leveling up now. If comes
Yeah,
January and we're in the top three, Rich, I think you've got to be looking at are we getting a player here that
can play in the
is
championship
yeah,
basically.
basically
Yeah.
that's what you're saying.
Yeah. We have to be
And to,
ruthless, don't we, with our squad? We
yeah,
rebuilding now. We can't just buy players who would be okay in League Two or would even be do a job in League One because that means they could theoretically be outdated in 18 months' time. You
you
have
get emotionally attached to the players though that get
yeah.
you up at promotion heroes, and you do get emotionally attached to it. And look, whenever the time comes that Luke Young or because the players that are locked down, I think are the safest of all, really. Paul Mulley and Elliot Lee. I think everybody else is is either a contract where they're probably not going to get an extension, or that even someone as much as I like Jordan, there people have got their question marks. I'd love to see Jordan go all the way. With
I'd
us,
love us to get to the Premier League without signing any more players. I'd love us to with the squad
right,
we've
but
got, but
it's not going to happen, is it?
yeah, and you've got to be horribly ruthless with that,
But
haven't you?
one of the players, Rich, that you almost, and it's perfect segue for me, one of the players that definitely would be with us in League One, I'm sure he's got absolutely no desire to leave, would be Mr. Elliot Lee. 10 goals for the season. Have you got a favourite Elliot Lee goal from the 10 this season? Now, he scored some unbelievable goals. He's got that trademark cut in and shoot. I'm going to run you through quickly. So he had his deflected goal at Wimbledon. That's not going to be winning any
No,
awards anytime soon. He got one against Walsall. Was that from the penalty spot? I'm trying to remember.
I believe so.
Got
Yeah,
one. He scored twice against Swindon in the late fight back. He scored one against Barrow, which was a penalty. We got one against Doncaster, one against Grimsby, his goal against Salford City, Sutton, and Notts County. So 10
yeah.
goals. Will he hit 20? And have you got a favourite?
I've not got a favourite on the basis of I cannot remember any of them, just because I think we score so many goals now that it's actually quite difficult to remember who scored what and in
Well,
what games they were.
Rich. I'm going to give it to the 96-minute equaliser in front of the tech end against Swindon. So the
Yeah,
Sutton one
I
was
mean I don't
probably
remember it, but
technically
it was probably good.
just for the moment. I mean, yeah.
Was that from the free kick?
Was no. I feel like that was the one where it kind of was the free kick.
Was it an
Oh, who
initial
knows? We
free
can't.
kick?
We can't even
Yeah,
remember, can we? So, but
it
either
was
way,
probably good. Yeah,
I
but yeah,
remember the
I
great limbs
think
for that one.
yeah, I think it's one of those ones where I think he definitely could get 20 goals this season, but I also don't think we can judge his success on whether he does or not because he brings
Okay.
so much to his team. Just when he gets the ball, he causes so much fear in the opposition. And it's just when the ball drops from the box and you just don't know which way he's going to go, and he does his fake shot, he cuts inside. Sometimes he does another. He just has this eye for goal and just this constant threat whenever he gets on the ball that he is at this level, I think, indefendable at times. You just can't. How do you stop him? How do the average League Two team stop him? Because even if you man mark him and try isolate just his talent, then what if the ball goes to Mullin? What if it goes to one of our strikers? I know he is often the creator, and a lot of our play channels through Elliot Lee. But his talent, the way he drops back, the way he drifts wide, and has a sort
Mm.
of free roaming sort of role in the team, he is just for this level. He is just a cut above, and his footballing intelligence is just off the scale. I don't think I've ever seen a creative player for Wrexham who maybe has the same discipline and creativity in the same. Do you know what I mean? The sort of balance of that.
Well,
We've seen players with better flair. We've seen players who may be
mm.
a bit more grounded. But for someone to have the perfect balance, really, of that creative edge, but also the intelligence and the discipline not to always get caught out,
Rich, this might be
he's
a
a gem.
stupid this might be a stupid question, but with the ball at their feet, who do you think was better as a kind of
Don
a
Vos,
dribbling wizard? There you go. You answered my
yeah.
question. Don Vos. You think that's it? The best one
No,
we've
I
had?
don't. I don't. I think he had a very good 6 months, didn't he? I thought you were going to say Elliot Jarrell for a second there. I mean,
No,
yeah,
no,
I
no.
think if you look at entertainer, Trundle still sets the bar for me in terms of someone who he is so gifted. He is like a almost like a circus act at times, Lee Trundle, because he is just an entertainer. He
Mm.
is he's almost got like that JJ Kocher
What do
about
they
him,
call him in
He's
America? The Shack or something.
yeah,
He was Shack of the TST.
yeah. But it's just in football, in soccer, whatever you want to call it, sort of the number 10. You think of Maradonas, you think of those players who the embodiment of someone is just create, do skills, embarrass almost their opponents, like a Ronaldinho or something. Lee Trundle's maybe the best technically gifted creative player we've had or I've ever
I'd take
watched.
that.
But for me, I think Elliot Lee just he has just something different about him. It's the way he just glides effortlessly. It's the way he does the dirty defensive work as well. And I don't want to just be comparing players sort of top trump style against each other, but I do think Elliot Lee's combination of doing the dirty work and then the moments of magic is
Uh,
unique for me.
He's got a great beard, so if it is top trumps, I feel like I am up there in terms of the beard stakes. Anyone who's watching on YouTube, but I feel like he's up there as well. And also, I can't really remember our hot takes at the beginning of the season, but we put a call out, didn't we, with people, and did we say Ryan Barnett was maybe a League Two Team of the Year? I
Yeah,
think we did, and maybe we were trying to be too hipster and too clever because Elliot Lee, if we were picking a League Two Team of the Year right now, would without doubt be in it. And they're
he'd be
pretty
his
much
captain probably. Yeah,
and pretty much the players that have played well against us: Davis Keeler Dunn, um, Louis Barry. Who else is in there? Dan Kemp, probably Jake Young. All these players that have played really well against us would probably be in there. But Elliot Lee, I tell you what, at the rate he's going, League Two Player of the Year. I don't know. I'm not a big gambling man, so I don't know the odds. But I tell you what, he is firmly in the mix. And I'm gonna say, Rich, that Elliot Lee ends up with 18 goals for the season. That's my prediction, which I think would be an unbelievable return and gets us into the top three.
yeah. I'm not going to put a number on it because
I am.
I've got no feeling to go for it. But yeah, like you said, he's a sensational player, and the biggest players do it in the biggest games, and he performed again for us on Saturday and made the difference.